the lifters, like so. So I came across this 05 C6 on Marketplace. I've been looking at them for a while, and this was by far the cheapest available. So it wasn't too far out of the way, and it was this right color, and that was pretty much all I cared about, and it was cheap. So because the car was still a few hundred miles away, I had to get a way to get it back, and obviously trailer was the way to go. U-Haul and I don't exactly get along, so I had to get my own, which is something that I've been wanting to do for a while anyway, and, you know, necessity kind of made it happen. So I picked up this 2019 Brymar, and it's a nice trailer. It's a hydraulic tilt deck, so you can just kind of, you know, flatten it out and load. I mean, I loaded the car without really scraping, so the trailer, of course, was not ready to go. I ended up having to rewire it the night of. Then I had to leave the next morning to go get the car. And so I ended up taking a friend's truck because the transmission in mine was pretty much already gone. And, you know, 4L60 life. Well, she's coming home with me. I'm so fucking excited. So, I've wanted a C6 Corvette for the longest time, and I finally managed to pick one up on Marketplace. It was the cheapest one on Marketplace, if you couldn't tell from these tastefully mounted headlights and lack of front bumper, I guess you'd say. Other than that, it's a pretty nice car. It's a 2005, so it's like the least desired year. It's an automatic. It's got the LS2 6-liter. Again, not the most desired package altogether, but it is a Z51 suspension package, which he said it's lowered 2 inches, which I believe him because it was really hard to get on the lift. But I'm assuming that means it's not a Z51 anymore, since I don't know. Maybe I think there's a brake, something to do with the bigger brakes maybe on the Z51 as well. But otherwise, I think the main draw is the suspension and the brakes. But it's a really good looking car. I mean, it's, for the most part, paint needs a little bit of help here and there, but for the most part, it really is really clean. It's got right around 100,000 miles on it. And if you're wondering how cheap I got it, less than $10,000. So that's pretty good for, well, considering what these things go for when they're running. So that's why I got it so cheap, is because it doesn't run. So I'm gonna get tearing into it here. It does run, but it's got a low oil pressure issue and making a noise in the top end. He thinks it's cam lobe gone. He thinks the lifter's stuck and, you know, wiped out a cam lobe. So we're gonna find out. So I'm gonna get this intake torn off of here and see if we can start the process by, like I said, just tearing the intake off, get the valley cover off, and there should be some small oil down holes or whatever in the valley where we might be able to peek in there and see if there's any issue with the cam that we can see from the middle. We're still going to end up taking the heads off it, but just for now, I'd like to know. So I will get the valve cover off. Okay, so I got the valve cover off of this side, and it's really good to see that these springs are upgraded. So that's so these are double beehive springs from Texas Speed with their titanium retainers. So it does have the whole cam kit in it then. So that's really good, because he could have been lying about that, and I'm glad he wasn't. So that's cool. So let's continue tearing the intake off here, and we'll see what we got underneath. And just like that, the intake is off. Valley cover is visible. Looks like it's been a while since anybody's been in here, but we're about to tear it down the rest of the way and see what we can see in there. So just a little update. Got the valley cover off, and I can see that the cam has some wear on it. So I'm just gonna go ahead and play it safe and get a cam for it. And I gotta still pull it the rest of the way so I can get the numbers off of it. But got it all tore down. Got both valve covers off. It does have the upgraded springs, like I was saying, so that's good. But for the most part, I gotta go. But I got what I wanted done today. But I gotta run. I gotta go on vacation tomorrow. So yeah, I will come back and get this thing tore down more and see if I can find out just how bad the cam is, and if it was just the lifter sticking, hopefully the bore is okay. But yeah, until next time, it'll be here. So I got the motor more tore out of the Vette now. Got the hood off it, obviously. Got the front accessories starting to come unhooked here. Got the water pump unhooked. A lot of the plugs off up here. Overall, these things are pretty easy to work on, honestly. For how it looks with everything all together, everything looks really cramped in there. But once you start tearing it apart, it's actually pretty accessible. Everything's pretty easy to get to, so that's cool. Still gotta get the exhaust manifolds off. I think I'm gonna pull the heads in the car and then pull the block out, just to give myself a little more room between the top of the body there and the engine. But I don't know, I'm still not 100%. I know you have to drop the cradle and do some other stuff, so we'll see. I know I'm not really anywhere close to being there, but progress. So I got the motor just about ready to come out. I gotta pull the starter, get to the flywheel bolt. I already removed the lower plate here, the support plate there that goes across the middle. And I got the exhaust out of the way on both sides. There's a lot of room when the exhaust isn't there. There's a ton of room to get to the motor mounts and all that, so that's cool. Make it a little easier for me. But yeah, just making progress, getting it done. All right, so this is where I'm leaving off. I've got it pretty much ready to come out. Everything's off the sides for the most part. Both exhaust manifolds and the whole rest of the exhaust is down because I had to pull that little mid plate there that acts as a support for the car. A lot of bolts. But yeah, otherwise this thing came apart pretty easily. I still have to drop the K-members to go to sneak the rack below the balancer to get the motor out, I guess. And I gotta pull those top AC bolts to get the compressor away from it. I did get the bottom ones already pulled out, so those are ready to go. But yeah, she's about ready to come out. I'm super excited. Once I get it up in the air, I'm gonna find out exactly, or once I get it on the engine lift rather, I'm gonna find out exactly what cam is in it and get that coming, and get all the rest of the parts that I need on order. That way the time that this thing is down is hopefully minimal and we can get it back on the road. Because I really, really, really want to drive this thing this summer. So, gotta get that stupid ass sticker off of there. But yeah, so far so good. I will be back tomorrow to get this thing the rest of the way out. Woohoo! Well, finally, motor's about out. They say it's real easy. All you gotta do is drop the cradle and then, you know, it pretty much just falls out. Well, I should have probably read into it a little more. But, you know, we got her out. Disconnected. So, I'm gonna get back with you once it's out here in the air. All right, motor is out, finally. Not a lot of work, really, once you know what to do. I just didn't know what to do. So yeah, there she is, ready to get torn down. So I got quite the mess going here, but the motor is totally out. Got the back cover off so that I can see the cam specs, so I know what to reorder. And yeah, so far so good. Motor's not locked up, so that's a plus. So I got the engine on a stand here. I'm gonna start tearing the heads off it and really see exactly which lifter here failed and whether it turned in the bore, got stuck in the bore, what have you. We're gonna find out right now. Okay, all the head bolts are loose. And okay, Head is off. At first glance, everything looks pretty good. There's no cracking in the sleeve. Some of them, like that one, you can even see a little cross hatching left in it still. But yeah, sleeves look good. So now I'm just gonna yoink the lifters out and we'll take a look and see if it's on this side or the other side that the one is collapsed or stuck or what have you. Okay, so all the lifters are now out. And good news is most of them look really, really good. So the lifter bores are all perfect. And then you can see right about there, that's the one that's messed up. Just to focus here. That one in there. See how trashed that lobe is? And believe it or not, that is the only one. The rest of them are in really good shape. Here's the lifter that failed. There you go, now you can see it. They're not supposed to do that. So I think it's just a case of a stock lifter failing, because they put a very large lift cam in it and didn't touch the lifters. And so yeah, that's what happens. For reference, a good lifter looks like this. Wheel stays in the middle. So yeah, hopefully we can just slap her back together. The rest of the lifters and the bores are looking great. So in theory, should be able to just get that new cam, which is already on its way here, get it slapped in, slap a set of lifters in it, and be on the way. So yeah, good news. Just a quick update today. I got the windage tray out. The motor's more torn down now. Got the oil pan off, obviously. Everything looks super good up in there. So here's the windage tray, and if you couldn't tell, that's what the normal, side of the windage tray looks like. And then there's the side that was underneath the lifter that got, machined, custom machined in the block. The windage tray actually did a pretty good job of picking up most of the junk and keeping it from going through the rest of the oiling system. So that's cool. So the oil filter should have got all the little stuff that got sucked into the oil and pumped through the system. So hopefully the bearings, mostly the cam bearings, are what I'm hoping are okay, because I don't like replacing cam bearings and I've never had good luck with them. So yeah, hopefully we can leave those stock bearings in there and slap this new cam in and the new lifters. And I did get a trunnion kit upgrade as well for the valve train. So what I got here is the Comp Cams trunnion kit for the factory LS rockers. Basically, just changes over to this sealed bearing type, I think they call it, or caged bearing, so that the sides of the bearing are caged so that the needles can't fall out like the stock ones, which you can see a pile of them down in there. So I've pressed out all the stock bearings with this little Harbor Freight arbor press. And so now I have basically a pile of rocker arms with nothing in them that are ready. And these are stock rocker arms. So I've purchased this same kit before to put on my truck, and they worked really well. Haven't had any issues with them. And the reason I'm doing this is because, like I said, the stock needle bearings, which you can see there on the table, are prone to, I guess, falling out and taking out the rest of the motor. So I want to avoid that. And so the last time I did this, I thought I would be smart and buy a set of complete rocker arms, which are these things, upgraded from Michigan Motorsports. And so they had good reviews for the most part. They sell a lot of stuff. They sell on Amazon, eBay, pretty much everywhere. And so I bought a complete set, and it did come with nice GM factory aluminum rocker bars. And so I thought, they're probably pretty good. And I put them on my truck there, on the old 6.0. And right after startup, I had a rocker arm break. and this was, I'd already had, no issues with the stock rocker arms on the same cam, so I know it was an issue with the cam. And so, yeah, I tried to go through them to get them replaced. They wanted me to send them in for inspection. I didn't. They were $300, so I just kind of ate that and took it as a learning experience of where to cut corners and where not to. So now I am doing it the right way again and putting these new bearings in. And so yeah, gonna have this all back together here shortly. I'll show you what the completed rocker looks like with the new trunnion bearing and there's the install tool. I've had that since the last time I did this. And basically you just put the bearing on with those washers and the tool, put a snap ring on each end, and then you have a complete rocker. So I will show that in just a second here. Okay, so first step in pressing these out is to grab one of your trunnions. The text on the bearing has to face the outside, and they like to trick you. Some of these are flipped, some of them aren't. So like that, the text has to face the outside, if you can see that. Just like that, that's how it goes. So since that's the outside of the rocker there, I'm just gonna place this in the top of the rocker, like so. You want to get it kind of flush in there, not, you don't have to be perfect, but you want it to start off pressing square and then line it up about right with your press. And then just like that. Boom. The bearing is flush with the rocker arm now. Oop, the bearing is flush with the rocker arm. And so now you can put the body of the rocker in the tool the other way. The rocker fits perfectly in the back of the tool there like that, so you know it's nice and flush and square. And then you gotta take your other half, the trunnion, make sure the bearing's facing the right way, which this one is, and then go ahead and drop it in. Boop. And so it already fell all the way into the bottom bearing, and then that also lines up your top bearing for the press. And then you just there's a couple different tools you can use to go over the top of this. I prefer the washer because it's already perfect thickness, so that it will go over the trunnion while still pressing the bearing in. So like so, you just press it down till the washer is flush with the rocker body, and it is installed. And some of these, press down one to cooperate. Some of these now need a little bit of yeah. So like right now I can't spin that. Well, I can spin it. Sorry, it's a little rough to spin. So I take it and with just the trunnion right there on the bearing, tap it on both sides like that, and then it spins nice and free. It's kind of hard to show with one hand here, but after that it spins nice. And basically you're going to put these snap rings over the end of it, and it will look like this. Snap ring keeps that from walking out, and so now you have an upgraded cage needle bearing and a stock LS rocker arm, which are proved very strong, durable rock arms. So yeah, getting these knocked out here, and so they can go back in the car. So the cam is finally out. Excuse the yellow paint there. This is the lobe that got damaged and the lifter failed. Honestly, a little bit of emery cloth probably could save it. It's really, I mean, yeah, I guess looking at it like that, maybe not. But it's not as bad as I thought it was. Not as much material got actually taken off the cam. Most of it came from the lifter. So I think that means we're good. So here's the new cam, looking nice and not all messed up. There's the specs on it. Getting ready to lube it up and put it in. I got the motor pretty much as good as it's gonna get here. Like I said, the cam bearings all look good. Got a little bit of pre-oil in there. Got the front cover clean. I got the surfaces as clean as I want them to be. They're not, it could be better obviously, but you know, I didn't want to take too much off the deck, being aluminum block and all that. And, you know, same thing with the pistons. I really didn't want to take too much of the coating off. You know, plus this is going to bump the compression up. You know, nothing wrong with a little compression. All right, so the cam is in. Got a new thrust plate on there because it comes with a new O-ring. That can be a pretty common oil pressure issue with these motors. So cam's in, nice and lubed up, next to some Lucas assembly oil. And yeah, she's going back together now. So I'm gonna go ahead and slap on the timing set and then go from there. Okay, so the cam is now in. The timing set is all installed. Oil pump is on. Everything's good to go. It is timed correctly. I made sure everything's lined up. Yeah, so moving right along here. I'm gonna go ahead and put the pickup tube on now and get the oil pan on it. Okay, now that the oil pump pickup tube is on, the windage tray is on, I'm gonna go ahead and slap the oil pan on and yeah, keep moving. Okay, so the bottom end's all back together, the oil pan's on it, all new gaskets, front covers on it, new cam sensor. Yeah, it's pretty much ready to go. Tomorrow I'm gonna get the lifters in and get the push rods cleaned out and all that, and yeah, she's coming along. Pretty soon, back on the road. Okay, so I got the head gaskets on, lifters are all in, trays are in. And yeah, it's getting ready to come back together now. I'm gonna slap the heads on it and then start the torque sequence and keep moving. Okay, so the heads are on. I'm working right now on getting the rocker arms all installed. But yeah, it's coming back together finally. Getting there. Very slow process if you want to make sure you do everything right, but those are the upgraded rocker arms, as you can see, that we spent so much time on. Not much time. It really was a pretty fast install. But yeah, so it's coming back together nicely. I will have this thing in the car probably tonight, and then probably have it running tomorrow. Very close to being back together now. Got all the rocker arms torqued down. Got the oil pump primed, got the filter on. Pretty much ready to go. All right, getting the final pieces added on. Gonna get the engine mount off. Get the rear bell housing and the rear main seal on. And but right now it's just supported by the lift. And as you can tell, these engines are incredibly easy to lift with a chain. You don't need to buy that $100 lift plate. Just get yourself a chain, put it in the second exhaust bolt back on this side. Same thing on the other side, except from the back, the second one back. And it will perfectly balance itself. Look at that. Perfect. So yeah, getting ready to slap this thing on, and I think I'm gonna bolt it back in tonight so that there's less to do tomorrow, because there's still a lot of work in getting everything hooked back up in the engine bay. So I'm gonna try to get that done for tonight, and then get a crack on it early in the morning. So yeah, got the bell housing on. Gonna stick it in the car right now. So next time you see this, it will be back in its home.
Son of a bitch, Paul, why didn't you just go home? That's your home! Are you too good for your home? Answer me!
All right, so got it on the hoist. Got it most of the way in. Just gonna tie back the power steering pump to get it out of the way for now. Drop it the rest of the way in. And then, yeah, gonna be rocking and rolling. I cannot wait to drive this car. Get this motor back in tonight, and then tomorrow I'll finish bolting everything up and connecting everything. And there's still a good couple hours worth of work left, just putting it, you know, the rest of the way back together. But getting there. This close to being installed. Almost there. Okay, motor is in. The cross member still has to go back in, the K member rather, whatever you want to call it, front subframe. But it is completely bolted up to the torque tube. Even the bolt that holds the shaft in place is in, so all set down there. Pretty much just got to finish it up here and slap the subframe back in it, and we'll be back on the road. Coming in tomorrow early to get this thing done. All right, I skipped a few steps. Obviously, motor's back in. Pretty much everything's hooked up except for the water pump, which I don't have any coolant right now anyway, so I'm just gonna leave it off so that I can start it up and make sure it runs and make sure everything's good to go. So I got everything else hooked up, even the K-member's all back in, and control arms, everything's all bolted back up underneath. So I'm just gonna get the camera set up at the back here and make sure that I got enough oil in it, and then yeah, we're gonna do our first start, so fingers crossed.